The Atlanta Braves used a long ball to win a series in Milwaukee over the weekend. And also, we'll take a look at some prospects who are increasing their trade value as the deadline approaches. All that and more on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I am your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on Twitter at shorts.ball. Also, make sure you check out my written work over at bravestoday.com. Make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. Send in any questions, comments, or feedback that you have for the podcast. We have another off day on Monday, so send me in some more of your mock trades, and we'll discuss those on Tuesday's episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Up over 6,300 subscribers on YouTube now. Also hit that thumbs up button to help spread the show even more. And we get more of you watching, more of you commenting in the comment section, and make this show as enjoyable for you, the listener, as we possibly can. Thank you so much for all the support that you show me here at Locked On Braves. Want to give a big shout out to some of my everydayers, Marty Newell, David Sherman, Kyle Knapp, Renew Crew Softwash. Hope that's the real name. That was the username that came across. Actually, I hope that's not the real name, but either way, thank you so much for the support. Donald Macker, Mr. Brimley, Joey S., Mark Riggs, Greg Harris, and David DRB. Thank you so much for letting me know that you are an everyday listener. If you are also an everyday listener, let me know down in the comment section below on YouTube. Again, thanks so much for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. On today's podcast, we'll talk about that weekend series in Milwaukee. The Braves win a series. Again, thought maybe it wouldn't happen, but it did. They do indeed win the series in Milwaukee. We'll discuss that, some of the boomer bust offense in that series, and some of the pitching performances as well. You got Michael Soroka getting sent back down. We'll discuss that. Braves making a move for another Rays pitcher that was let go, and Yonny Chirinos. We'll discuss that. And also on Minors Monday, we'll go through, look at some prospects who are increasing their trade value. But let's start with the weekend series in Milwaukee. The Braves break their long losing streak of series. I say that sarcastically. After losing 2 series in a row, the Braves get things turned back around. They get a series win on the road over a good Milwaukee team who was playing some good baseball coming in and played some good baseball in the series. You can see what they want to try to do to you. They are a pitch-first team. They're going to play good baseball, play good defense, and they're really going to make you beat them. And the Braves, fortunately, did. Probably still not the best series for the Braves that they played. Still not, a fully clean series. You look at these last 3 now against the White Sox and the mental lapses they've had defensively. I'm having some mental lapses as well as I'm not getting a lot of sleep here lately with the newborn, but Braves haven't been playing a lot of good baseball themselves. And even though they did get the series win, you still kind of feel like they're not quite back to clicking on all cylinders. It was really exciting to see some major league debuts in this series. You had Alan Winans, thought he looked solid, spun that breaking ball really well, kept hitters off balance. Again, I thought he looked okay. Got optioned after the game, so we'll see if he gets another opportunity this year, but thought it was a solid big league debut for him. Forrest Wall came in, stole 2 bases immediately with 1 out, got to third base with 1 out. Unfortunately, Orlando Arcia wasn't able to bring him in with 1 out and a runner on third there. Really good pitch from Devin Williams. But you can see the threat that Forrest Wall is. I've been saying for a long time now that I think he's going to be on the postseason roster because of what he can do on the base pass. I mean, he just easily stole those 2 bases. I believe it was within 2 pitches. He stole second and then he stole third, and there wasn't even any chance of him being thrown out. So you can see the weapon that he is, and it's why I've been saying for a while, I think he's going to be on the postseason roster. And then Daysbel Hernandez, he struck out the side. They did give up a hit in Sunday's game. I mentioned him last week as well. He came in after that last rehab start for Max Fried and struck out all 5 batters that he faced. He has been absolutely dominant this year at both AA and AAA. He's somebody, he was on the verge of coming up in 2021, didn't have that Tommy John surgery, so out all of last year working his way back, and he has been absolutely dominant. He could be a big piece in the Braves bullpen. I'm sure they want to get several more looks at him before the deadline, but he's somebody that could factor into the back end of that bullpen if he can continue to do the things that he's done at the minor league level this year. You also, on the Brewers side, you had Sal Frelick come up and basically single-handedly win the game for the Brewers on Saturday. That was unfortunate to see, but Sal Frelick, a really good prospect, so Braves fans got to get a look at him on Saturday and Sunday as well, but Saturday more specifically, where he just absolutely tortured the Braves. Ozzie finally came through. He was 0 for 9 in the series over the weekend before he got that big 3-run home run on Sunday to give the Braves the lead and ultimately the win. He left the bases loaded in the 9th inning on Saturday in a pretty terrible at-bat against Devin Williams. Look, Devin Williams is tough, but he was struggling to find the strike zone, and then Ozzie came in there just swinging at everything. And once you get 2 strikes on Devin Williams, really tough to get a hit on him. So pretty bad at-bats in this series from Ozzie Albies, but he comes up with a big 3-run homer in Sunday's game to turn that all around. Austin Riley's home run streak comes to an end. He had homered in the first 2 games of the series to extend his streak to 5 games in a row with hitting a home run, 6 home runs in 5 games, but then he went 0 for 4 on Sunday. But hopefully he's not going to cool off here. We're going to see Austin Riley continue the great trend that he's been on. Bryce Elder had a nice bounce back game in his start on Sunday. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 2 earned, 2 strikeouts. Did give up another home run, but overall, a very good game for Bryce Elder, one that he desperately needed after a couple of bad ones. Hopefully he gets on a roll here again and continues to give the Braves length and quality starts, which is what he's done, for the most part over a year now since he's been back in the rotation. So again, hopefully we're seeing Bryce Elder get back on track. This was a series of former players or players playing against their former teams. Julio Teheran on Sunday, the first time he's ever pitched against the Braves. 6 innings, 3 hits, no walks, 1 earned, and 5 strikeouts. I did not see that coming. The strikeouts for the Braves in this series, especially against Teheran and against Adrian Hauser on Saturday, where he struck out 10 batters. Adrian Hauser is not a strikeout pitcher. That's a bit alarming for this Braves offense to see them striking out so much when they've been so great at not striking out a lot this season. But Julio Teheran just dealing against the Braves, of course. And I love Julio Teheran. I know a lot of fans are kind of maybe torn on how they feel about him. I think everybody expected him to be an ace. He was never really that. Maybe had a year or two where he was that for the Braves, but I thought he played his role well while he was with the Braves, and so I always root for Julio Teheran. Glad to see him doing well again and getting another opportunity, but really unfortunate to see him slicing up the Braves lineup the way he did. The only home run was a Travis d'Arnaud solo home run, and Travis d'Arnaud, just to mention that, coming off the bench, to start on Sunday in place of Sean Murphy, 2 hits, including that solo home run off Julio. I mean, he just, again, it's every time he comes into the lineup, it seems like he does something good for this team. And I just think that's incredible. I think that's a good attribute of him to be able to do that, to sit 2 games and then come in and get some big hits. And it also makes you question, does he need to be getting more of those DH at-bats? You look at Ozuna, who's cooled off a good bit, 0 for his last 16 at the plate, 1 for his last 25. He's hitting 159 in July with a 194 on-base percentage, so we're seeing him almost have a month like he had in April where he was just a useless player at the plate. I've talked about it since he's gone on this hot stretch. I get it. There's going to be times where he cools off and maybe the home runs aren't coming. But even during that hot stretch, there were times where he was having quality at-bats, where he was, hitting the ball the other way for a single, taking his walks, doing all that. You're not seeing much of that right now. So, it does become a question here if he continues to struggle like this for the month of July. Do you start seeing Travis d'Arnaud get some of those DH at-bats? I certainly think that's something that Brian Snitker and the Braves front office have to be asking themselves right now with the way Travis d'Arnaud, his bat's been so consistent over the last couple of years. Does he start getting more of those at-bats? The power that Ozuna brings, Travis d'Arnaud brings a little bit of power himself, had the home run on Sunday. But I think that's got to be a discussion at the moment. Are we seeing a slide back for Ozuna and to what we've seen the past 2 years? Or is this just, a little cool down that he's having over the past, 2 or 3 weeks now? But certainly, again, I think that's something that they have to consider. You had a boomer bust offense for the Braves this past weekend. 11 of 13 runs coming on home runs. All of the runs in the last 2 games were on home runs. In Saturday's game, it was especially frustrating. You got the 3-run homer from Austin Riley, had a lot of base runners in that game, but couldn't come through, weren't able to manufacture another run in that one. You ultimately lose that game by a run. That one is certainly frustrating. It's great that this team is so good at hitting all these home runs and they're able to win these games and just rely on the home run ball to do so. And this offense can do that. You'd love to see them get back to scoring in multiple ways like they were, through June and really the first part of July. Being able to score in multiple ways, that's how you have to win ball games. It's great. Again, you have all these hitters in the lineup where you can run into a three-run homer at any point, just like what happened on Sunday. But it'd be great to also see them in some other innings, maybe just scratch a run or two across. Doesn't always have to be a crooked number. Would love for that to happen, but you'd also love to see them kind of manufacture a run, add-on run here or there, or, they need just a run to kind of get back in the game, able to piece one across. Weren't able really to do that in this series. Give a lot of credit to the Brewers pitching. They have a pretty good pitching staff, but again, makes you a little worrisome that they're maybe becoming too reliant on the home run ball right now, not coming through with some of those clutch hits when you need to. But again, they are by far the best in all of baseball in hitting home runs, and they are capable of just relying on the home run ball to win games. All right, next we'll go through our Minors Monday segment and talk about some prospects who had a good week, perhaps increasing their capital or their trade interest as we get close to the deadline, improving their trade stock. We'll discuss all that here next. Are you using the Sleeper app for daily fantasy baseball? If you're not, you certainly should be. Sleeper is a fantasy sports plus real money gaming app focused on bringing people together through sports and gaming. Sleeper has become the best and fastest organically growing fantasy platform in the world while earning some of the highest levels of engagement per user. Right now, you want to earn 100 times your money back on daily fantasy baseball. Sleeper is now offering up to a 100-time payout with up to 8-pick contests. You choose as many as 8 players that you like. Pick more or less on your favorite stats like home runs, strikeouts, hits, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win big. Use promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. Braves have an off day on Monday, and then they'll be back in action on Tuesday night at 7:10 p.m. Eastern against the Boston Red Sox. Catch every pitch of the Braves' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Braves. Because they do have the off day on Monday, on Tuesday, we'll do our mock trade segment again. So be thinking about some mock trades. I'll send out a tweet from the main Twitter account asking for you to submit those mock trades. You submit those there. We'll talk about them on the podcast on Tuesday. Then we'll have our regular segments throughout the week, our stat of the day Wednesday, through the league Thursday, and mailbag Friday. But right now it is Monday, so we're going to get into our Minors Monday segment. I'll go through the top prospects first, and I'm going to switch up these top 10 prospects here probably in the next week or so, kind of reshuffle the order here a little bit. But for right now, we still have A.J. Smith-Shawver at the top, and he got back on track, had a good start this past week, 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, no earned, and 6 strikeouts. So good to see A.J. Smith-Shawver get going. Again, I think he's certainly a candidate to move into that bullpen as well. Somebody that I think could be a dominant arm back there in the pen. So that's something to keep an eye on down the stretch. Owen Murphy, 3 innings, 1 hit, 4 walks, 3 earned, and 4 strikeouts. Been kind of up and down for Owen Murphy past couple of months. J.R. Ritchie out for the year. Cole Phillips still recovering from Tommy John surgery. Braden Shoemake, just 1 for 21 this past week. He did walk 4 times, struck out 5 times, 1 stolen base, but a rough week at the plate for them after he had kind of been getting going a little bit. Another step back for Braden Shoemake at the plate. Spencer Schwellenbach, mentioned last week, he got promoted to Rome, but he still hasn't made a start there. He hasn't pitched since July 1st. He did pitch in the Futures game, but hasn't pitched since then. I don't think there's anything going on there. Just a little bit curious. Maybe they're trying to manage his workload as he's coming off Tommy John surgery as well. Darius Vines and made another rehab start at Rome. 4 1/3 innings, 3 hits, 3 walks, 3 earned, 9 strikeouts. He's been racking up the strikeouts on his way back from injury. Ambiorus Taveras, 8 for 25 this past week. A good week for him. A double, a triple, 2 home runs, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts, 1 stolen base. I said it the other day. I think I may have tweeted this out, or at least thought about it. I don't know if I ever followed through with it, but yes, the strikeout numbers are there. He's got to improve on that. But right now, when he's making contact, it is really loud contact. You look at that, 4 extra base hits this past week. So that is certainly a positive for Ambiorus Taveras. Dylan Dodd, still haven't seen him pitch since June 22nd. Haven't heard any word. Don't know what's going on there. Obviously, it's been a tough year for Dylan Dodd overall. Somebody who came in with a lot of, helium expectations after a good season last year, then a great spring training, started the year in the rotation, but it has just been a disastrous season for him. He has a 7.94 ERA at the minor league level and a 7.40 ERA at the major league level. So been a rough year for him. Right now, I'm showing him on the 7-day injured list in AAA. Again, not sure what the injury is there that he has, but hasn't pitched for a while there. Nacho Alvarez, speaking of injuries, he went 3 for 14 this past week, had another double, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, but he left the second game of a doubleheader on Saturday rather, and didn't play on Sunday. So looks like maybe he's injured there as well. Somebody on Twitter told me that he fouled a ball off his foot, but either way, looks like he could be injured at the moment. Hopefully that's nothing serious. Luis Guanipa, 4 for 18, 1 home run, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, and got caught stealing twice. The past 3 stolen base attempts for Luis Guanipa, he's been caught stealing, so got to work on that a little bit, but still showing some of that power with a home run this past week. Hoping we see some of the recent draft picks start playing here pretty soon, as, again, they've signed all but one of them, so hopefully they start getting assigned to the minor league level here pretty soon, get our eyes on some of them and get some stats for some of these guys. So be looking out for that here probably in the next week or two. Going through each level at Gwinnett, Hoy Park, 10 for 16 this past week, had a home run, 2 walks, a strikeout, 2 stolen bases. Just about all these teams had some rain delays and had to play some double headers this week as well. So a bit of a weird week for just about all of these. I think, and at least for Gwinnett, Mississippi, and Rome is what I think Augusta was on the road. But Vaughn Grissom at Gwinnett, 8 for 22, a double, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. No runs scored. Pretty weird. You get 8 hits and you walk a couple of times and you don't score a run. I just thought that was pretty odd. Somebody on Twitter had asked me, where's the power with Vaughn Grissom this year? He only has 3 home runs. He hit 19 last year. But his isolated power number at 146 at AAA this year, that's pretty much where it was last year at AA and at the major league level. He also has 24 doubles this year. He had just 26 all of last year combined at every level and in the major leagues. So he's getting the doubles this year, just not quite getting the home runs. I still think he's probably going to be a mid-teens home run type of bat at the big league level. But, he is missing the home run ball this year, but that isolated power number is still pretty much on par with where it should be for Vaughn Grissom, about 150 range. Justice Sheffield this week had a good start at Gwinnett, 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 walks, 2 earned, 6 strikeouts. And Jackson Stevens working his way back, 2 innings, 1 hit, no walks, 1 hit batter, no earned runs, and 3 strikeouts. I can't see where Jackson Stevens really plays a role in the Braves bullpen down the stretch, but he's at least there for some depth. At Mississippi, Luis Diavila, 6 innings, no hits, 2 walks, 1 hit batter, no earned runs, and 8 strikeouts. Last 2 outings now, 11 scoreless innings. So he's been on quite a roll there for Mississippi. And again, they've gone away, or they have supposed to have gone away from the tacked balls here in the second half. So should be using the normal baseballs now. And Luis Diavila having a couple of really good starts. Scott Blewett gave up 2 solo home runs, but he struck out 6 batters in 2 2/3 innings, so I wanted to mention that. Cal Conley was 6 for 23 with a home run. Luke Waddell 6 for 22 with a double, a home run, 3 walks as well. Jesse Franklin 5 for 15, a double, a home run, 2 stolen bases. Drew Lugbauer 5 for 10 with a double, a home run, and 2 walks. He was coming back from injury this week and got right back to hitting home runs as he typically does. Tyler Tolvey had 2 home runs as well. Down at Rome, you had David McCabe go 8 for 23 this past week. 2 doubles, a home run, 7 runs batted in, and a stolen base for David McCabe. Brandon Parker, 8 for 14, a double, 2 home runs, 2 stolen bases. Geraldo Quintero, 7 hits and 4 walks on the week. Good week there. Kevin Kilpatrick, haven't mentioned him in a while. He had a good week, 5 hits, 2 doubles, a triple, 4 walks, and a stolen base. And at Augusta, Bryson Worrell, 8 for 21, 2 homers, 4 walks, 6 stolen bases this past week. Jose DeLone, 5 for 10, a double, and 3 walks. Tyree Thompson, 6 innings, 4 hits, no walks, 1 earned, 6 strikeouts. Luis Vargas, 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 1 earned, and 5 strikeouts. So that is your Minors Monday update. Again, be interesting watching some of these prospects. If you're a Braves fan, you hope these guys are playing good here at this point of the season as we get close to the trade deadline and hopefully increasing their trade stock. We could possibly see some of these guys on the move here in the next couple of weeks. All right, next, we got a lot of transactions to talk about from the Braves. They've acquired another pitcher from the Rays. Got a lot of people optioned back down, including Michael Soroka. We'll discuss all of that here next. Braves are taking another shot at a pitcher that the Rays have let go of. They acquired Yonny Chirinos off waivers from the Rays. He's a starter and a reliever. Just a 4.45 K per nine and a 2.87 walk per nine this year, and 62 2/3 innings. I'll be honest here. I don't understand this one. Again, we can't really question the Braves front office at this point. They tend to make a lot of moves, but I don't see this one. I don't understand this one other than just for some depth. But you look at his Baseball Savant page, it's not just everything in the blue. It's everything in the blue all the way to the left side of the page. It's just, I don't see where the upside is in this one. You can maybe see it a little bit when they acquired Ben Heller. Chirinos, good sinker, but in the low 90s. He also throws a slider and a split finger. So, I mean, he has some decent stuff, but hasn't been a very good year for him. Honestly, I don't know. Again, the Braves front office is much smarter than me. I'm sure they know what they're doing. I like this as a depth move if you were to put him in AAA, but it sounds like he's on the active roster, and it sounds like he may start a game for the Braves this weekend. The way the Braves have been going here lately and the moves they've made, he'll probably come in, throw 6 shutout innings, but just, on the surface, I don't get this one for the Atlanta Braves, but we'll see how it goes. They did designate Seth Elledge for assignment to make moves or to make room on the 40-man roster for Chirinos. They optioned Michael Soroka back to Gwinnett. Again, this one I do not understand, but I trust the Braves front office to know what they're doing. I think Soroka has looked fine in the Braves rotation. Yeah, he hasn't been that guy that we're used to seeing before the injuries, but I think he's better than a lot of the other options that the Braves have right now in that 4th or 5th starter spot. Again, his last start, really outside of the first 2 batters of the game and the first 2 batters of the 6th inning, I thought he looked really good and was really effective. So, again, this one's another head scratcher for me. I know some people have said maybe they're trying to play with service time here and gain an extra year of control of Soroka. I don't know how true that is. I haven't looked enough into that, but Braves are trying to, obviously win now and wrap up the division. They do have a big lead, so maybe you can afford to do this. Soroka does have options, so you have that ability to send him down and not worry about losing him. You can bring him back at any point. Braves also have 2 off days coming up this next week as well. So, perhaps maybe they weren't thinking they were going to use Soroka this week, but you still need somebody for Saturday against Milwaukee. So I don't know. Again, like some of the moves the Braves have made this year, they don't make a lot of sense to me. I don't think they make a lot of sense on surface, but the Braves have a bigger plan in mind. And again, they know what they're doing, but maybe it's just my bias because I really want to see Michael Soroka do well. And maybe I'm looking at it through some Michael Soroka blinders right now, but I think he's looked pretty solid for a 4th or 5th starter right now for the Braves. Got through 6 innings his last time out. So that one I don't really understand. We talked about them calling up Daysbel Hernandez. I'm really excited to see what he can do and get some looks here before the deadline to see if maybe he could be a big piece. They already optioned Alan Winans back, and again, I thought he looked okay. Jesse Chavez moved to the 60-day injured list to make room on the 40-man roster. Seems like it's still going to be a while before Jesse Chavez comes back. We're probably looking at September at this point. Fred McGriff inducted into the Hall of Fame. And then some good injury news. Max Fried to start for Gwinnett on Wednesday. Likely going to be his last rehab start. And then we could see him back. AJ Minter to pitch for Gwinnett on Tuesday. He's likely going to be back by this coming up weekend. So it'll be great to get him back. The Braves desperately need a lefty. You could see it in that series against the Brewers. Really needed a lefty to come in some of those situations and just don't have one you can go to right now that you trust. And Dylan Lee, speaking of lefties, he's ramping back up as well, throwing some bullpens. Maybe he will begin a rehab here in the next couple of weeks, and then be back at the beginning of August. Those would be two really good pieces, two good lefty pieces to get added back to the bullpen. So that is certainly a welcome sign there. On the injury front, again, next week or two, you could be getting back Max Fried, AJ Minter, and maybe a little bit longer than that, but hopefully Dylan Lee coming back as well. That's going to be three big improvements to the Braves pitching staff, including what you may get at the trade deadline over the next week and a half. So hopefully we're going to see some big moves for this Braves pitching staff, which has been banged up all year. They've held things together nicely as much as they could, but really want to see some of these big guys get back in there and hopefully see this Braves pitching staff take off. All right, that will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Again, the Braves play the Red Sox on Tuesday night at 7:10 p.m. Eastern. Catch every pitch of the Braves' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Braves. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of each and every day. Make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. Look for that tweet later in the day on Monday asking for your mock trades to be included on Tuesday's episode. Make sure you also follow me on Twitter at ShortstopBall. Check out my written work over at BravesToday.com. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we will talk to you next time.